Welcome back, you guys. It's yet another video, and I think today's video is so personal, not just for me. I feel like the topic in itself is so personal to everybody, which means that not everything I say might resonate with some people, and even the definition of what faith means or what manifestation means might be very different for different people. And I don't think I have enough time in the world to talk about it in great length. So today I'll be talking about things that what it means to me specifically, and what are the things I do to kind of anger that faith and manifestation, and like to believe in myself or a higher power out there. And see, the whole point of holistic healing is, I believe at least spirituality plays a very major component in it. And you can call it anything. You can call it God, you can call it faith, you can call it just a higher power, you can call it a source. But I think the essence of the idea will always remain the same. And so I hope I'm talking in a way that can resonate with a lot of you, because I think my idea of manifestation is slightly different from the things we see in the internet and the kind of things that people are talking about manifestation currently. So let's dive into it. So what does manifestation or faith mean for me? It essentially means that when you show up consistently with your actions, things are going to work out for you. It's essentially a self-belief, but a bit to the extreme. It's the idea that with your entire being, you believe that things are going to work out for you. And even when things don't go your way, it's believing that something much, much better will take its place. And it can be very hard to essentially digest that idea, especially if you're a person who is very skeptical. And it was hard for me, because I'm a person who always focuses on research and who always wants hardcore evidence. But as I grew up, and when there are so many situations in my life which are so uncertain, the faith that's a higher power or a source is looking out for me is very appealing. Because on those days when you don't know what to do next, or on those days when you don't want to show up for something, to know that if I work a little bit more harder, somebody out there is looking out for me and for my highest favor, sounds so appealing, right? And what I'm going to do here today by talking to you is just essentially showing you what it meant for me. And I hope it's kind of a passage for you to also see things from my perspective. I built my idea of manifestation from so many psychological concepts, and I will make a video just about the psychological concepts what led me to believe in manifestation. But I'll just talk about one. It's called self-fulfilling prophecy. It's essentially the idea that your beliefs and expectations about yourself will eventually come true. And though if you really think about it, your beliefs and expectation does influence your actions so much. Because there is so much information out there, your beliefs are essentially what creates your reality, right? You're only going to look for things which comes in alignment with your beliefs. So it makes sense that what you believe about yourself, the opportunities that are present in front of you, you will only see them even as opportunities if you believe in yourself. Most people think that manifestation, when I say this, it's just like, oh, you just have to think positive. No, that's not what I mean. You have to think positive, definitely, but especially in the internet today, in general, manifestation has a bad rapport by saying that it's just thinking positive, or you just have to think about it, that's all it takes. No, it's not that. It is essentially the idea that you have to take consistent action, you have to believe in your goals, and you have to do even every single day, even if it's so small. You have to take small actionable steps every single day towards your goals. Only then you can believe in yourself, right? Let's just take from an outsider's perspective. Believe that, that just believe that this person is going to do something, and they keep saying that I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do this, I'll do that. But if they are not taking any action towards it, would you believe them? No, right? Because it's just wishful thinking. Why would you believe in yourself when you are not taking any action? Why would your subconscious even take that as your reality when you're not taking any action towards it? Your subconscious needs time to adjust, which means that you have to take actions every single day for the things you want, and only then your conscious and subconscious can come in alignment and finally believe that, okay, maybe I can do this. That's and that requires a lot of effort. It's not just thinking positive, it's not just visualizing it every day. It definitely helps. I'm not saying it does not help, but you have to take action for yourself, and you have to have that faith, that you have to have that faith that even in those uncertain situations something better is coming along. I'll give an example. I remember when I was back in India and I wanted to get into this one university really bad. It was my dream. I worked so hard for it, and like I used to study for hours just getting into this just to get into this university because they had an exam. So I had to get that exam, and I worked so hard for it, but I didn't get in. And there was this another university which I eventually did end up going to, which I got in so easily, and it was a very hard exam. That's the funny part. I came in national rank third, I think, in their entrance exam, because it was really easy for me, and it was so easy, it was so effortless. But that's not what I wanted at that point of time. So it didn't even matter to me that I got it. But when I didn't get the other university, it broke my heart. I was so sad, and I felt like all the things I worked hard for, it didn't come into play, and it really crushed my faith. I was like, what's the point of me believing in something if I work so hard and I still didn't get it? And guess what happened? When I went into the other university, I met some of the best people in my entire life. I worked on myself so much, and I think that in that university, only because I went to that university, I was able to have a much closer relationship with the universe, and have a much more anchored faith, and it really helped me to become a better person. So at that point of time when I didn't get it, I didn't know that this was the one that was the best for me. I didn't know that this is going to change my life in so many ways. And at that point, it was so hard to accept that, because I think the most difficult part to understand is the middle part between not getting what you want and not knowing what to do next. That middle part is the hardest part, and it was so hard for me. It was really hard for me. I took it really hard because I kind of felt like it was kind of a blow for my identity also, because I didn't get into an exam I really worked hard for, and I felt like I was a failure and all that stuff. But eventually I understood why it had to happen that way, and I'm so glad it happened that way. I really am. I wouldn't question it for a minute now. I am so glad it happened that way, because it really helped me to become a much better person towards myself. That's the most important thing. I really become a better person to myself, and it took a lot of time and work. And if I was in the other university, I don't think I could have ever done that. And similarly, the same thing happened again. And then after my masters, I had to take a national exam for so that I can go for PhD within India. And I wrote that. I didn't get it. It was devastating again. The same thing happened, but I then came to Italy, and it was such a I was thinking about it, but once I didn't get that exam, it became so clear to me, and the process was so simple for me. That's the thing. When I came to Italy, the process was so simple for me. I got in so easily. I got in with full scholarship. So that's the thing. When there are things that I really, really want, when I didn't get it, there was so much better things waiting for me, and it always worked out in my highest favor. When I came to Italy, it radically changed my life. It changed my lifestyle. It changed the way I was perceiving things. It changed the way even I approach academics. Everything changed. It was the best for me at that point of time, but I didn't know. That's the hardest part, and it can be so scary to believe in that times of uncertainty, to believe when you're so sad and when you're so heartbroken. Trust me, I know it can be so sad and so scary to believe in something when you don't even know what's going to happen next. But it always works out. It always works out, because it always did for me. And everybody I know who has ever told me they were very sad, or they were so scared of something, and they end up getting something much better, and much better than that. So trust me, it's going to work out for you too. So what do you do in times of that failure? That's the next question, obviously, because yeah, I understand we have to deal with uncertainty, and it can be so hard being in that place of failure, especially in something you really want to do. But what do you do then? That's the question, right? And it can be very hard to navigate that failure. It is very hard for me, because I'm a person who works really hard when I want something, and so when I don't get it, it can feel such a stroke to my identity, But I feel like I heard this one quote by an Indian Tamil actor in one of his interviews, and it has been so comforting for me. And he basically said something along the lines of, how many times will you fail? If you do something again and again and again, how many times will you fail? It's the law of probability that someday you are going to win. You will be successful. It does not make any sense that you wouldn't win, because if you keep failing again and again and again, but you keep doing it because you know this is part of your destiny, and you know that this is something you would want to do for your entire life, there will come a point where you have to win. And it's so comforting. It's such a comforting quote, because every time you fail, it's just that, oh, the next step is probably my time. And that has happened to every single person that is successful right now. Take any person you know, take any person you love and admire, and who's so successful in their field. If you actually think about it, they have failed so many times, but they just kept doing the thing that they really wanted to do. And what happened? They became successful because they didn't give up. They did not give up. They stood their ground, and they believed that this is what I want. And literally by the law of probability, and I believe the law of the universe, you will win. You need all those failures, because only then you will understand how important that success was. That does not mean that you yourself are a failure. It does not mean that you are not meant for this. It just means that it's literally not your time yet. That's all. That's the only reason. It's not your time yet. But that does not mean that your time is not going to come. It's the law of the universe that you have to be successful wherever and whatever you're doing. Just keep doing those things that you love and admire, and I promise you, things are going to go your way. The one thing that has helped me navigate all this uncertainty and failures and all that stuff is, as cliche as it sounds, is gratitude. I know it can seem so scary, and not just scary, so frustrating to be like, oh, you want me to be grateful when I'm literally going through something. It can be so sad and so annoying, but trust me, it really does help. And I wish so many times it didn't help me, but it did. Every time when I'm so sad and so frustrated, I'll be like, I don't want to write my gratitude journal because I am not grateful right now. I'm so sad. But when I finish writing it and when I actually sit there and think about all the things I do have and all the things that's going right in my life, when I'm very much focused on this frustrating thing, it really does help me feel better. I'm sorry, but try it out. Just be a little bit more open, and next time when you're going through something and when you're like so mad about it, just sit there for a second. If you want to journal about that thing, you're most welcome, but after that, write all the things that you are grateful for, all the small things that is going in your life, which is helping you to focus on this frustrating thing. Because I think the one thing that I have learned over my years is that it's even a privilege to focus on one thing that is frustrating you, because you can only do that when all the other things are going right in your life. When all the things are like it's affecting you, it's kind of hard to focus on one thing, right? So it's even a privilege to focus on one thing that really affects you. So next time when you're feeling so frustrated, try writing something. Writing I'm grateful for something. I trust me, it really helps. And one question I often hear when I talk about all these things, and that's something I have questioned again and again and again, is why even have faith in the first place? Why even have faith in the first place? Because there is so much sadness around us. There is so much homelessness, poverty, malnutrition, everything. It's such a war. It's such a scary world out there. So why believe in something? Why even have faith? Why even believe in manifestation? And I have thought about this over and over and over again. And the one thing that does give me some sort of good feelings, in the sense that gives me some sort of peace, is that I believe it's not just one person's faith, it's the collective faith. If there is so much war and sadness around us, I think it's the collective's responsibility, not one single person's faith's responsibility. Here, and I think it's easier for me to believe in this idea because I don't believe in an all power God, like at least in the traditional sense. So it's a little bit easier for me to come in terms with this idea. But I believe it's the collective's responsibility. Let me explain. I believe that manifestation is not just about individual success, but it's also about contributing to the greater good. If imagine in a community, if everybody is focused on supporting each other, and even small things that we do, such as volunteering or building something for somebody, any small thing that you do has a ripple effect on the community, right? And it leads to the greater good of the community. And it can be very hard to believe all this responsibility is on us, but I believe it's not just on you, it's in all of us. It can be very hard to balance faith with that skepticism of why should I believe in something, and but it really helps me also. So what I think is that if you go into the extremes, if you are a person who is completely only on faith and who does not ever question anything and who does not even see the sadness around you, you're going to be that person who is so delusional and who's going to even blame others for their circumstances, and who does not understand how different life can be for other people. But if you are also the kind of person who's only skeptical and who never believes in anything and who does not believe in the faith, in any sort of faith, or does not believe in collective responsibility or anything like that, you can be the person who's filled with anger and hatred, and you might even go to that sort of nihilistic attitude, which is not helpful either. I think it's such a beautiful thing that you're questioning all this, because I did, and it really helped me to come to a place where I feel so much anger and so much sadness for all the things that's around me. But I also know that it's because I am compassionate. It's because you are compassionate. If you're questioning all these things, it's because you're compassionate, and it means that you have what it takes inside you to help all these people. So if you want something and if you really believe you can do greater good with it, even if it's scary, do it, because it will have a ripple effect on other people also. You might be, without even knowing, helping a lot of other people who might be in the exact same position as you, or who might even be worse than you. So if I am doing something and if I'm getting something, if I am able to use those resources to help the rest of the people in my community, I have already won. Which also means that somebody else out there who has a belief, who has faith, if I am able to help them anchor their faith because I help them, how beautiful is that? Right, so rather than questioning why isn't nobody else doing anything, when there is sadness around us and when it fills it with so much anger, I think the best way to do about is to rise to a position and believe in the things you want, and through that helping others to believe in what they want. I think that's the only way you can balance skepticism with faith. At least that's what the conclusion I came to. But if you have any other reasons why you believe in these ideas or why you believe in this faith, please do let me know, because I would love to talk about all these things, because this is something I think this will evolve over time. My thoughts might evolve over time, so I would love to be engaged in this conversation. So please let me know in the comments about what you think about this. I think there's this quote in Brooklyn Nine-Nine where Holt says to Diaz, if you haven't seen that show, please watch it, it's an amazing show, where he tells her every time somebody steps up and says who they are, the world becomes a much more interesting place. And it's such a beautiful quote, and I believe that's essentially what faith is. Every time you have a desire and every time you speak up, I think it makes the world a much more interesting place. And I think it has such a beautiful ripple effect on others, and how much you can improve other people's lives, even though you don't believe it actively does. I really do. If you feel like, for me, if I'm doing a YouTube channel, my channel is pretty small right now, right? But I believe even if one of you watches the video to its entirety, I think I have changed somebody's life, and that's beautiful. And so if you have the desire to speak or write, please do it, because when you are authentically yourself, the world is anchored to its faith a little bit more. So I hope it's been an amazing ride here because this is so personal to me, and this is something I'm still learning through, and I think that also comes in the way I speak about these topics. But I love that it's I am a little bit unpolished in these topics, because it means that I have chance to grow even more, and I think that's beautiful. And I hope it really help you to anchor your belief a bit more. And if you have any suggestions or if you have anything to say, please do let me know in the comments. If you like the video, please put the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I love you so much. Bye bye.